Good morning, everyone. It is Robert, and it is 10 o'clock, and we are going to be going over our incredible class today, which is going to be talking about command opportunities, documents, and of course, the docu-signing process. Glad to have you here with me. We're going to start today by kind of going over some of the things that we need to generally know to make sure that we have the smoothest possible transition from the contact to the opportunity to the DocuSign room. Now, I do this class all the time, and this is one of the main things that I'm always talking about with any agent when I'm working with you solo, working with you alone, is the process to make it as easy as possible for you to create your opportunities and to manage your opportunity details and to manage the opportunities inside of DocuSign. Now, having said that, if you have any questions, feel free to place them in the chat. I am watching down below here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. We are on Facebook Live here. Of course, you're probably watching us there on the Facebook Live KWCLM group. And in addition to that, we are also on YouTube at kwtechtube.com. And as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and pop that up here, kwtechtube.com. And when you go there, what you're going to see is this little guy. And whenever we broadcast live, at the very top of all of the different videos that we have here, you're going to see now streaming live. Okay, so that is happening right now. And if I click on that, I think I'll probably get a lot of weirdness there. Hey, there I am. Again and again and again. It's going to back up into there and look all funky, but that's where we're at right now if you want to join us on YouTube. And of course the YouTube comments are also functioning, and I encourage you, if you are going to watch on YouTube, we can also see the comments there, so come on in. Glad to have you. Let's come back over to the KW dashboard here, command, and let's take a look and see what we've got. Excuse me. All right, so you can see we got the dashboard here, and I also did something a little bit different with the screen here. Let me know what you guys think. See, I can actually kind of like, there's the screen back there, and then there's me, and I got a whole new look going on. Just trying it out, see what you think of this here, and let me know. All right, so here we are on the KW dashboard, and one of the first things that we need to understand is we're going to be working with opportunities today. And you all know very, very well that when I say we're working with opportunities, we're talking about you're working with contacts inside of an opportunity, and then that opportunity is going over to DocuSign, and we're going to be working with it in DocuSign. All right, here we go. So you might think to yourself, well, if we're going to work with opportunities, we're going to go to opportunities. No, we always start at the contact area. So we always look at contacts, and we begin there, okay? And when we do that, we're looking for the contact who is going to be the primary contact for the opportunity that we are about to create. So I'm going to use my standby here, Jackie Astudo. And if you've seen any of the classes that I've done, I'm always using Jackie Astudo here as my demo account. And so that means that Jackie has quite a few opportunities in the pipeline here. And as you can see, I can scroll through, there's like 38 different opportunities. I hope that we can all have opportunities that are that many for a single client. That would be pretty darn cool. Okay, so let's talk about, as we look at this, one of the things that we need to understand fully is the information that is in this contact card is going to be the information that is used to create the opportunity and to complete the opportunity details tab showing all of the information about this contact. That information in the opportunity details tab is going to be used in DocuSign to pre-fill all of the different areas where information about the contact, about the opportunity itself, about the property, all of that is going to be used. And you're going to see that here today. So what we need to do is look at the contact information. So I'll start off by sliding down here. Of course, we have our name. We have the name Jackie Astudo. And we also see here that we have some tags. That's not important for the opportunity per se, but we do see we have a phone number here. We have 867-6535, and we have an email of jmaclient@gmail.com. So we do have two vital pieces of information there. As we slide down a little bit further, I'll get to beyond the neighborhoods, and we're going to start to look at more information in the additional contact information for this resource or for this contact. And we can see the information that we have here is the preferred contact method is email. We have an email at somebody@gmail.com, which is actually different from the email that we have at the top of the screen. So we have a secondary email. And we also have, if necessary, we can put a secondary phone number in here. And we also have an address, okay? We have an address in here as the primary address for not only the home address, but the mailing address. This, again, is information that, because it's about the contact, will be used inside of everything that we do. So this is really good stuff to have here. Down a little bit further here, we have in the About section, check it out down here, we have a relationship. And in the relationship, we see that we have John Morgan, who is another contact in this database. John Morgan is another contact that is in here. And John Morgan is listed as partner. So now this could be someone that would end up on a contract, on an opportunity with us, or it could be someone who is just, we need to have them view a document for all we know. Okay. So that's the detailed information about the contact themselves on Jackie Astuto. Now, when we want to create an opportunity for this contact, and remember, all opportunities are based on a contact, okay? All opportunities are based on a contact. So if we start at the contact, and then we come over here in the activities section on the right-hand side, and we click on opportunities. When we do that, we're going to see all of the existing opportunities that we do have for this contact. Now, this might be empty for you. It may very well be empty as you're doing one opportunity for this, an initial contact. When you see it empty, to create a new opportunity, you click right here on the left-hand side in the upper left, and you click on Create Opportunity. Please note that I did not go to the Opportunities applet in Command and click on the Opportunities applet to create the opportunity. I started here in the contact area in the Opportunities tab of the contact and clicked Create Opportunity. Now, the information that you're going to fill out in here is going to also directly impact the opportunity details, and it will directly impact the opportunity inside of DocuSign when we get there. Although you can fill out a minimum amount of information here, you can also fill out as much as possible, and it will contribute to the completeness of the details area of your opportunity. So what do we mean by that? So if we come down through here, of course, we have the Market Center, and generally speaking, many of you will be under one Market Center. If you do have two Market Centers that you are a part of, which is entirely possible, you need to make sure you select the correct Market Center. Most of you will not need to do that. However, it is available. If you're on a team, most likely that team will have defaulted to show you the name of the team, and it would have been already populated in there. If you have the option to build opportunities within the team or solo on your own, you can choose to put the team here or not. The opportunity type here, there are 4 types: listing, buyer, landlord, and tenant. Those 4 different opportunity types, the default that it will always show you is listing, the top of the little choices here. Remember that if it is one of these other ones, you will have to select it here before continuing, because you cannot change the opportunity type once the opportunity has been created. I'll say that again. You cannot change the opportunity type once the opportunity has been created. Okay? So we'll leave this as listing for right now. The owner of this opportunity is Robert Vincent, because in this case, I am a solo agent working without a team, so it has to go to someone, and it goes to me. The next thing here you'll notice is that you have the client name, Jackie Astuto. It has already pre-filled this client name because we created this opportunity from that contact, okay? Our contact, Jackie Astuto, we initiated the opportunity from the contact, so it automatically put Jackie's name in here. Saves us a step, and it also guarantees that we're getting the right contact, because we could have 2 John Smiths, 2 Jane Does. We don't want to be in the opportunities tab trying to figure out which John Smith or which Jane Doe this opportunity belongs to. And if you think that hasn't happened, I've got some news for you. It has happened, where someone has picked the wrong name for an opportunity, and it ends up that we had to go back and do some kind of finagling to make it work. Now, on the co-seller side here, because I mentioned earlier that we had John Morgan as a related contact under the category of partner, if John Morgan needs to be a part of this transaction, a part of this opportunity, we can immediately see that the co-seller section recognizes that there is a related contact, and we have that option now to put that related contact in here. Now, yes, you can add a different person that's in your database, but you cannot add someone who is not in your database. So in the co-seller field here, if you are trying to add a second person, you need to make sure that that other party is in your database before you begin to try and fill this out. Now, the next thing here is the opportunity name. By default, this is what you're going to see. The system will preload the contact name, and it will load the opportunity type, in this case, listing. Now, the Market Center does require, through compliance, that you put the address for the property that's being bought or sold into the opportunity name. It helps everyone locate the opportunity faster and make sure that they're looking at the right one. So leaving the first name and last name, and also leaving listing here, we're going to put in, it's going to be 123 Main Street in Epping. Now, you don't need to give the full detail here, but as much information, you don't need to put the full zip code and all the way down through. But now you see that we have listing 123 Main Street. The system will now know that you're dealing with a listing, and it will also have the address in here for you. And you're thinking to yourself, well, Robert, if this is a buyer opportunity, I'm not going to have that address yet. You're absolutely right. At this point in time, if this was a buyer, you would just leave it as buyer. Don't put an address. But you can always edit this field later on. And when you determine an address, when an address is selected for your opportunity, you can return to the edit fields for the opportunity and add the address. All right. Now, a little bit further down here, we have custom tags, and the tags give us an opportunity to group things together in the opportunities pipeline. So it helps us locate things and organize things in the pipeline. If you are using the opportunity pipeline, this is a great tool to help keep organized and clarity inside there. If you are not using the opportunity pipeline, you can use this to just label things so that you can kind of identify them. Next up here is the estimated close date, and notice that it is not a required field. However, if you are able to do an estimate on the close date, you should enter that date in here, and I will go ahead and choose one now. I'm going to go ahead and say that, typical 90 days. So we'll go, it's just the beginning of September here, not even quite the beginning of October here. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to December. And I know that this morning we were talking about 90 days out is about, I think, the 22nd or 23rd here for December. So I'm going to put that in there. I'm going to choose December 22nd, 2021 as the closing date for this property. This information will once again transfer over to the details inside of DocuSign. Now, again, here we have an estimated listing price. If you are, once again, using the pipeline to manage your business, then you will want to have a number in here, because this will now be able to track the potential GCI, the probable GCI, and all of the percentages all the way through. If you leave this blank, then the percentages are going to be 0 because the dollars are 0, and your pipeline will not fully represent what is going on with the money in your GCI. So if you have an estimated listing price, remember, it's estimated, put that in here. So I'm going to put in $500,000, and that will be my estimated number, which will transfer and be part of the opportunity. Next up is the commission rate. It is a required field, so you'll need to populate that with a commission rate. And if you watched the video, or if you watched me live at the beginning of this week, we talked about the opportunity pipeline and the phases and the stages. The default here is that the new opportunity that's just been created will go into the opportunity phase of Cultivate and the stage within Cultivate as Watch. It's the entry level position to get into the pipeline. If you are further along than that, which is entirely possible, you might be entering this opportunity because you have it now active and you're going to be getting the signatures on the documents, okay? So maybe you'll need to put it into active and you'll put it into staging because this is where you're at, okay? So this is something that if you are using the pipeline, these are incredibly valuable tools to give you accurate data in that pipeline. If not, don't worry about it. Okay. So now that we have all the information for our opportunity, we're going to click on Create. The new opportunity will be added to the activities timeline over here on the right. And when we see this activities timeline, we can click on that brand new opportunity right up here, and we can go to the Details tab of our new opportunity. And here is the Details tab. When I clicked on it, it took me right into the opportunity, and it shows me that we are in the pipeline under Listing and Active. That's the place or the phase and the stage which we have placed this opportunity. So let's review the details of this opportunity from the details page. Number one, let's start at the top here and let's understand what we are looking at and the tools that are available to help us manage this opportunity from the contact all the way through to the commissions. And number one is we see the opportunity name. And in that opportunity name, as I mentioned, we're required to add the listing address if it is currently known when you create it. If it's not known when you create it, we need to add it. And to add it, we can come down here towards the bottom of the screen, and you see, not the bottom of the screen, it's still kind of the top of the screen. But here in the opportunity name, we can see the listing 123 Main Street in Epping. If we needed to edit that, we can click the little pencil icon just to the upper corner of the general information. We'll go through that in just a moment. The next thing you'll see here on the right-hand side underneath my profile icon is client updates. Client updates are currently turned off, and what that means is any activity in this transaction that requires a client to be updated is not going to go to the client via email. So we can set that up differently, but for right now, understand that this is turned off, and client updates is a separate topic that we will cover in a different class. The next thing here is our checklist. Now, our checklist is focused on where this opportunity is in the pipeline and the checklist items that are required for that stage of the pipeline. So when I click on this 0 of 2, it means that 0 tasks have been completed out of the 2 tasks that have been designated for the listing active phase and stage of this opportunity. So I'm going to click on it. And it says in here that the requirements for the staging of active inside of the phase of, what did I say? Well, the phase and stage. We can see that there are 2 items. One is verify cleaning date, because remember, we're in staging now, right? And confirm staging company. And I can just check these off and say that those have been done. Or I can come over here and say I need these to be done by a specific date and put a date in here. In addition to that, I can edit or delete them and say I don't need these 2 particular things for this opportunity, so I can do that, all right? But these 2 checklist items that are from the master checklist are now a part of this opportunity, and if you choose to use them, you can just go ahead and say, yep, I've got that done, and we got 1 of 2 completed, and we'll go ahead and say, you know what, I've confirmed my staging company, my checklist has been completed for this, and I'm good to go. So I'll go ahead and click close. And when I do that, you can see here now the checklist is 2 of 2. So what does this really mean in the big picture? This means that at all times throughout the life of an opportunity, you can build a checklist that refers to each stage and phase of an opportunity. And you can verify that those items have been completed by checking them off. If you are on a team, you get the bonus of being able to assign those tasks to people to complete, or you can assign them to yourself. All right. So that's a really cool tool here. Now, I mentioned client updates are off. This is where we can turn them on. Just so you know, we can turn them on for this opportunity and say, yes, I want to send daily progress emails for this opportunity to Jackie or to myself if I wanted to, as reminders for things that I need to do. Okay. The last thing over here on the far right hand side is if you were to go into the settings, you can view the settings for the client updates. Now, we're not going to worry about that right now. Again, that's something we do in a different class. So we are on the details tab. Remember, right above the details tab here, we have the name of our contact. We talked about the name of the opportunity, but here is the name of our contact. And our contact is Jackie Astuto. If we click on that name, then we have direct access to her phone number and to the email for Jackie Astuto. Additionally, we can jump right to the contact section, and if we have any questions or if we have anything we need to do at the contact level, we can absolutely do that. Okay, to the right of our contact name is the select from listings. Now, I spoke with some new agents recently, and there's a little bit of confusion on this, so I'm going to clarify it for you. If the property for this listing is already in the MLS, then when you click this, you can search for that property amongst the MLSs, and you can find it by the MLS number. You can go up here and say, show me by the MLS number and find the exact property. Or you can do a street search and find it by the address itself. But basically what you need to remember is you are using the MLS search to locate the property. I'll close this dialog box and remind you that that's by clicking the Select from Listings button. Part 2. If you are putting together a listing that is not yet in the MLS, but you want to include the address, the physical address of where the property is, then you can come down here to where it says Property, and you can use this little edit tool to search for a property that is not necessarily in the MLS. So all this is a Google search, and it's bringing you a physical address. So I'm going to show you something here. I'm going to select this 123 Main Street in Epping, and I'm going to say that this is the property that I'm going to be putting up in the MLS. So I'll click Save. It is not in the MLS yet, but look at this. It populated in the address field for the listing area. But when you click on this now, you can see that there's no photographs, and it's just the information about the address that you had given it. Now, what we're saying here is that this property is just a street address. There is no MLS associated with this right now. I'm going to remove this as a street address because today we got it put into the MLS. So I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to click back up here where it says Select from Listings, and I'm going to search for the MLS property that we put into the MLS. So I'm going to click on Search. I'll say I'm going to go to All Listings, and I'm going to put in 123 Main Street, and it's going to be Epping. All right, I'll go ahead and search for that. And now look at this. Here I have the 123 Main Street Epping. Now this is the same thing. This is the same property, but now we're able to see the MLS numbers because we need to verify, like for example, right here, this is 482-5082. This may not be the right MLS. I might need this one, 727-16357. The point is you're looking for the correct MLS number because this is the information that will transfer to the DocuSign room. So I'll go ahead and pick this one here, 123 Main Street with that 082 as the MLS. And now it's in here. It did populate down in the area for the property. And now this shows you the property. Okay. Excellent. So those are the differences between the listing and the property and how to use them. Now, the rest of the information that is available on this details page is being pulled from the contact information. So we have the market center, the opportunity name. If I was on a team, here's my custom tag that I had created. The owner, the phase is active, and staging is the stage. The contact name. I do not have a co-seller. I do not have a time frame. I do have an estimated close date. I do not have the information in here for the appointment scheduled date, agreement 1, contract date, and close date. Those pieces of information were not in the original form that we used to create the opportunity. However, because we do have that information, or because we are in the details of this opportunity now, we can use them and put them in here. So if I come back in here to edit the general information, I now have a lot more things that I can edit. So I'm going to come in here and say, well, I'm not going to do a co-seller this time. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as 1. The opportunity phase is active and the stage is staging. Time frame is going to be we're here, we're done, we're 1 month because maybe I worked with this person previously. All right, estimated close date, appointment scheduled. So we know that we've already passed all this stuff, so we have the information in here. So the appointment date was, let's say it was the 1st of September. We scheduled a date on the 1st of September. The date that we were going to meet was on the 10th. The agreement was won on the 10th. The contract date was the 11th when they signed everything. And now the only thing left for us is the closed date. So you can see the dates are now in here. Why does that matter? For reporting purposes, if you are using the opportunity pipeline, pretty much everything that we just added in there is part of making sure that the pipeline is very well built, very well managed, and has meaning in the reports. I'll go ahead and click Save here. Okay, so now that we have that, we are now looking at the details area. It's pretty well cleaned up and it's pretty well ready to go for the next section. And the next section is for us to go to the documents area. Now, why was I spending so much time talking about all these details and the contact and all that? It's because we are trying to reduce the amount of back and forth to increase the accuracy of the transaction and to make it easier for us to do the things that we need to do that are all associated with the information here. But now we've got it so that we don't have redundancy, we have accuracy, and it will populate across the next 3 steps with perfection and ease. So I'll click on Documents. Now in the Documents area, there are no checklists selected and we have not created a transaction in DocuSign. So what we're looking at is a blank slate to begin the document process. Now this document process involves a couple of different steps. Number 1, we need to determine what kind of document checklist that we are going to use for this transaction. Now, when we click on the Pick Checklist Type, we're presented with New Hampshire, Maine, Massachusetts, Commercial New Hampshire, New Construction New Hampshire listing checklist. Now, you may see different checklists based on your area and the different checklists that are available to you. Do not worry about my list. Just make sure that your list shows you the checklist types that you need to pick from. In this case, we know that this is a New Hampshire listing, so I'm going to choose the New Hampshire listing checklist. So I'm going to choose that, and it's going to load up 3 sections here for me. I'll slide down a little bit so you can see it. It's going to load up all of the potential documents that I'm going to need for the listed portion of this transaction. There's an under contract portion where I will have documents that I need to fill out for that section. And in the closed section, these are the documents that are required for close. And I say required, but it's actually a combination of required, conditional, and optional. So on the right-hand side, when I look at the listed checklist, in here on the right-hand side, it's going to show me all of the documents that are required. And I clicked on requirement here so that you could see it first. So all of the required documents in red, all of the conditional documents in kind of like a peach color. And then as we get down a little bit further here, the optional documents are now at the bottom of my screen and they're in kind of like a yellow color. So what makes a document conditional? I don't need to go over what makes a document required. I think that's self-explanatory. It's required. But what makes a document conditional? Well, when we look at the types of documents that we have here for conditional, you're going to see a little I, an information button next to each of the conditionals here. What this is telling you is why this document would be needed. Note, with listing agent name and commission amounts, condition if listed in the MLS. So the MLS listing sheet agent full display is conditional. all right, with the listing agent name and commission amounts. Down here, for the property disclosure rider, the information button says, if property is a condominium, co-op, PUD, and other homeowner organizations. So now you know that if your property is one of those, you will need this property disclosure rider. And you can go through all of the conditionals and look at them to determine what the requirements are and whether or not you need that document. Now, is that the end of the statement? No. You can absolutely always jump over to the office and talk to Jen Vachon, the broker, Jason Westcott, the compliance officers, whoever you need to, other agents, to find out whether you need this information. Don't call me. I'm the technical trainer. I have no way of telling you whether you need any of these documents or not. That's the real estate agent's, that's your side of the world, not my side. So I can't help you there on determining whether or not you need it, but we can certainly get you in touch with the right person to get the answer to the question. So let's go down here to the optional documents down at the bottom. Optional, did you do a CMA? If you did, you can store it here. It's optional to do so. Invoices and receipts, all the invoices and receipts, you can put them into a single PDF and you can drop them here and have all of those documents inside the transaction. Copies of emails and texts, why not? Any notes that you might have, team agreements if necessary, customer client contact information form, which by the way, there is a link here, which means there's one of them that we can see. I'm going to click on that. And it's going to say, this is the customer client contact information form. Please have customer client information listed below. This form is required for all transactions, which is interesting because it's in the conditional. Okay. All right. So here we are with the name and the phone, the primary address, the phone numbers, and all additional information. Now, this is nice because if you don't have your computer with you, you can actually print some of these out and you can fill it out so that you can add it to your computer later and then put that in here with it. It's another form that you can use to verify and confirm data so that you don't make any mistakes. Now, each of these document types, required or otherwise, we need to get them filled out in DocuSign before we can bring them back here. So what does that really mean? Well, this is where we put the documents once they've been signed. So we bring the documents back to this room and we place, for example, the deed. We'll put the deed into this slot. The brokerage relationship disclosure form will go into this slot right here and on down through for all of the requireds and any conditionals for this transaction. Knowing that, you say to yourself, well, where do I get the documents? Okay, well, these documents here, the ones that have links, are blank forms that are really just for you to see as an example. So brokerage relationship disclosure form, this is what this form needs to look like. Of course, it will need to be signed. Now, you can print a copy of this out if you're going to be doing a wet signature in person. You're absolutely more than welcome to do that. However, you can do this all electronically through DocuSign. So you don't need to put this out here as a physical form. You can just go ahead and use DocuSign to do this. So any of the underlying documents have sample documents that you can view, but this is not where we do the signature process. The signature process takes place inside of DocuSign or through the DocuSign tool. So when we look at this, the next logical step is, now that we've created the correct checklist and we've determined these are the documents we're going to need, we can come over here to where it says start a transaction. And when we click start a transaction, I want to be very clear here. My system, my personal database, I have both DocuSign and .loop. You will most likely have DocuSign or .loop. If you are looking at both of them, then I strongly urge you to pick one and go forward with that one tool, and don't try to use it, willy-nilly jumping, oh, today I'll do DocuSign, tomorrow I'll do .loop. Keep it simple for yourself, because there's nothing worse than trying to remember, okay, now this is which program, how do I do it here? I only recommend DocuSign because it is recommended by Keller Williams. We currently only teach classes on DocuSign. However, we do some light support on .loop only because, I do have some knowledge on it and I can try to help you out. If the bind is too deep and I'm not able to solve the problem for you, we'll send you over to the .loop support and you can get some assistance from them. Okay, so we're going to use DocuSign for our transaction. And when I click DocuSign, it's going to say, okay, let me create for you over in DocuSign. I'm going to log in here. It's going to create a room for me. It's going to create everything that I need, and all of the data that I used in Command and created on the Details tab is going to come over to DocuSign, and it's going to put itself in here. Sorry, that was not, oh, I gotta log out of this one and log into my DocuSign, which is this one here. Sorry about that, you guys. I logged into the wrong one. There we go. All right, so now what we have is the rooms, and I'll go ahead and go create Jackson 123 Main Street, and that was on 9/23, and that's today. Boom. So perfect. So here is inside the room on the Details tab of our brand new created DocuSign room. Now it opened it up in a separate tab across your browser. So you have Command to the tab to the left and your DocuSign details or your room to the right. Now you can go back and forth. Now why would I go back and forth? Well, the idea here now is that you're going to verify on the Details tab that all of the information about the transaction and the people involved with the transaction are going to be loaded in here so that you can use it to pre-fill much of the information on any of the documents that you will need signed. We did all of that work in Command for the contact and for the opportunity in the details area. We did all of that work so as much of that information would come over as possible so that we wouldn't have to enter it again and hopefully not even have to worry about it. So what information comes over? This is a question that I get quite often, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up for you KW Answers, and I'm going to type in DocuSign Sync, okay? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to look at what synchronizes with DocuSign. So I'm going to click this little link, sync opportunity details with the connected DocuSign room or a .loop. This particular, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat, by the way. If you are in the KW system, you will be able to view this article and you'll be able to see it and look at it and review it. So what information synchronizes with Command from Command to DocuSign? Well, let's look. Where does this info pull when syncing your DocuSign.loop rooms? The agent name, agent email, phone number, the market center, and the market center address. This information is being pulled from the KW White Pages profile, which is why we need to have as much information in your profile in mykw.kw.com as possible, because that's the information that's being used to populate your legal DocuSign documents. Doesn't get more clear than that. Next up, in the opportunity, the listing that you selected, the listing that you attached to the opportunity in Command, this information will be pulled over into DocuSign so you do not have to enter it or search for it or copy and paste it. It is the listing address, the year built, listing date, current list price, lot size, beds and baths, listing expiration date, and of course the MLS ID. All of the listing information, I'm going to jump back over to Command to remind you, that's coming from right here when we selected at the top of the page. By selecting the listing, that information is now transferred over to DocuSign. Can't ask for more. Next up, on the opportunity offer details. Now, we have not gotten to the offer details page yet, but the information about the sellers, the buyers, and the expected close date, actual closing date, and the closing price, okay? These details these offer details are going to be transferred over. Now, much of this information is going to build over time, and if you keep on synchronizing Command with DocuSign, you will have the latest information in DocuSign that is added to Command. What am I meaning synchronizing? Well, in Command, on the details page now, there's a new button. And when we filled out the details page originally, this button wasn't here. But it says now, last DocuSign sync, September 23rd, 2021, all fields are synced with DocuSign. That was when we created the room. Now, if there are any changes to the information on this page, especially where you see the term synced, if you see, for example, the estimated close date is synced, we can update that. We can update the close date. We can update the addresses. We can update this information here and have it transfer back over to DocuSign on the Details tab and update it there. That's fantastic. One place, one value, populated everywhere. Can't argue with that. Gotta love it. So that's what the synchronization does and why we use it. We keep it so that the information in command is the one-stop source, the one true source for all of your data. All right. Now let's talk about DocuSign for a moment. I'm going to jump back into the DocuSign room here, and instead of going on the Details tab, I'm going to come over here to the Documents tab. Now I'm going to show you something. I kind of have been preaching on this one a lot lately. And that is, some of you agents have been coming to me and saying, Robert, I'm stuck. I've got this document that I pulled in, a form that I pulled into my DocuSign room, and it has the word sample on it. The reason that you're seeing the word sample in the simplest of terms is because there are no details on the Details tab that are required in certain fields on one of the documents you might have brought in. And so when a document has no data, DocuSign automatically determines it to be a sample because it doesn't want you to be printing blank forms. All you have to do is have data on your form and the sample watermark will disappear. That's in one sentence, the whole solution. If you see a sample document, open the document and add content to the document and save it, and the sample will disappear. All right, that's all I'm going to say on that one. If you need help on that, reach out to me. So on the right-hand side here, we're going to go ahead and click on Add. In the Add, I'm talking about in the Documents area of DocuSign. When we come in here, we have choices. We can get documents from our computer. Those will be PDFs. We can choose DocuSign forms. And I want to talk about the difference between a form and a document. So it comes down to this. A DocuSign form is really a template for you to fill out, send out for signatures, and bring back. The form itself is an electronic object that is used to create something that's sent out. The form doesn't actually go anywhere. DocuSign is using that form to populate the information. And once the information goes out and it gets signed, it comes signed as a PDF. So a form is just an entity used to send for signatures. What you get back is a PDF. Now, if you're adding documents from your computer, they're going to be probably PDFs, even though you can bring other things in here, but they're probably going to be PDFs. A PDF, we can take a PDF and add a signature field to, but it's not a DocuSign form. It's just a PDF with a signature field. So right now we're going to be focusing on DocuSign forms. So I'll go ahead and go to DocuSign forms, and it brings up my dialog window here that allows me to see all of the different forms that are available from the different folders and groups and libraries that we have available to you here at KWCLM. So we have our Coastal Lakes and Mountains group over here. We have our New Hampshire buyer template folder, which, by the way, has marked forms that are required if it's a buyer. If it's a listing, there are also required forms that you will need to bring in. And so let's go ahead and bring in the 3 of these here and just start off by bringing those 3 in. We also down here have a library of forms that we can go through, finding all of the additional types of forms, including the ones that we've already selected. So the wire fraud alert has already got a checkbox. Then we have the NHAR forms. The NHAR forms are literally from the New Hampshire Association of Realtors. I'll kind of go with that for now. And this is where you'll see all of the NHAR forms that you may need. Okay. Now, once you select some forms, and I selected 3, and you can see up here in the top right that 3 forms have been selected. You can actually click the selected here and see those 3 forms before you bring them in. And if that's what you want, you can go, yes, that's all, bring them in. If not, you can go back to browse and add additional files. So you can bring in 1 or more files into this room for signature either way. So I'll click on add selected to bring those 3 files in. So we have the audio consent, the wire fraud, and the brokerage relationship disclosure. Now, initially, it doesn't show me the thumbnails to show what the actual document, like a little miniature version. But after a couple of seconds, when the document loads up, if you refresh the page, you'll be able to see little thumbnails of those documents. Now, for those of you who have, again, reached out to me saying we have the sample issue here, one of those is the brokerage relationship form or the wire fraud alert. Those are 2 of the common ones that we see. You're not seeing sample on mine. The reason being, because if we open up wire fraud alert, and I mentioned this a moment ago, if the document has information on it that came from the details tab or it's populated with some information, the sample statement will disappear. So on this wire fraud alert, the information that was transferred over from command is in fact the address, 123 Main Street in Epping, and the zip code here. I have noticed that lately the state has not been flowing over. If this was blank, then we would have seen sample. But because I brought this over from command with the correct address and it's synchronized, I don't have the word sample. So I can save and close and say that's exactly what I wanted. That's the document that I need the customer to sign. Same thing here with the brokerage relationship disclosure. If we go down through here and look at the information, we will see at the bottom of the page, we see the name of the seller and we see my name as the agent. And we also see down at the very bottom here, the address, the information here. Again, no sample because of that. So why do some people call me up and say, Robert, I did create the room from command, but yet the document is still showing sample? And the guaranteed answer is because the address inside of command had not been added yet. And that was the only information that was going to show up on any form anyway. So this is why a lot of people were seeing the sample. They didn't have the address added, whether it be down here in the property section or as the listing up at the top. Okay, so now back to DocuSign. Now at this point here, I could go through the DocuSign process with creating envelopes, but we only have a few minutes left, and I don't want to go and add too much to this process because we've already covered quite a bit. So let me go backwards a little bit. Instead of going through the DocuSigning process and bringing them back into command, we're going to stop here and we're just going to review the process very, very briefly. It's kind of like a step-by-step. So step 1, when you log into command, you're going to go and locate the contact who you want to create an opportunity for. So I'll go ahead and say Jackie Astuto again. All right, so I'll go down here and select Jackie Astuto. And there she is. From the contact themselves, opportunities. In the opportunities tab right here, not over on the left-hand side, we create an opportunity. The opportunity name needs to have the address, and I'm going to put the address here as a whole bunch of numbers, and it's going to be South Street, so we see a different address. Okay. Any further information, the more information you have, the better. The minimum required is the commission rate. We'll click Create. The opportunity has been created, and now we have right here, the 987654 South Street. We can open this up from the contact themselves, and we will add a listing to this. So I'm going to say that we're going to go ahead and say this is on South Street. And hopefully I've got something in New Hampshire, South Street in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Perfect. So there's my address on South Street. It's populating across here. I'll fill out the rest of the details and we'll get ready for the documents area. We go to documents. We pick a checklist type, and in this case, it's a New Hampshire checklist. It brings in the checklist. We click Start a Transaction and choose DocuSign if necessary, and it opens up a DocuSign room. the DocuSign Room automatically populates to the DocuSign Room Documents tab, which we can then click on Add DocuSign Forms. And from our listing, since this is a listing, we can pick the required documents, and I will go ahead and add selected. And at this point in time, my document room is ready to go. There, look at this, the sample here. So I'll go into my sample and let's see what's going on with this. And it has no address down below. So I'm going to save and close this. And I'm going to go back to my command and make sure we do have this on the details tab. I will sync the transaction. Something went wrong. Look at that. Sync transaction. Good. Done. All good to go. 1, 2, 3. Come back over here. Look at that. Go back to my details tab. There we go. Took a moment for the details to transfer over, but here they are. No samples because each of these now has the address from the listing. It took a little longer than I expected, probably because I'm trying to show it to you quickly, but I didn't make any changes. I just let it synchronize. And here is South Street in Londonderry. I'll go ahead and put my New Hampshire in here and save and close. I'm ready to start sending the documents out. Okay. So all of that tied back together, just remember this. It's incredibly important to make sure that everything about the contact is filled out. Everything about the opportunity details is filled out. And when you create the room in DocuSign, you will have everything ready to go, and it will be very, very quick. All right, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys got some good information. As always, if you have any questions, you can find me at robert.vincent@kwclm.com. And you can also find me at, you can book time with my schedule at timewithrobert.com. And you can find the Zoom room where we meet anytime we meet in person. It's kwtechtv.com. We stream this session and all sessions live on KW Tech Tube, which is our YouTube channel, kwtechtube.com. And of course, you're probably watching on Facebook in the Facebook KWCLM group. And there is the address for that. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. All right, so that's going to be it for me. You see my green screen behind me here. I have to kind of make a nice little background for that next time. So actually, I can make a nice little picture for you. Let me see if I'll put myself in. Let's see. Yeah, I might have some fun here. Well, who knows, right? So let's take this. I'm going to make put myself in a little office. There I am. All right, you guys, that's going to be it for now. Have an awesome day. Remember, at 2 o'clock today is our second class of the day, and that class is going to be, bring it over here really quickly for you, is going to be email templates. We're going to be talking about how to create an awesome email template in Command. So I hope you join me for that. Until then, take care, stay out of trouble. We'll talk soon.